Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Nexomon Extinction, and there are two things that come to mind when I first looked at this game. One, I bet this comes to most people's mind, this is just a Pokemon ripoff, and two, this looks like a cheap mobile game, and while some of those criticisms are pretty valid, I feel like this game deserves a little more in-depth look rather than just checking it out surface level. So I played it to completion, I rolled the credits, and I'm ready to share my experience playing this Pokemon-esque knockoff. I want to address the aesthetics of this game pretty early on in this casual review, because while mobile game graphics themselves don't necessarily look bad in my opinion, I just feel like there is so much negative stigma to this kind of look, where you kind of know what I'm talking about when you think of those like free-to-play download games on your phone where you build bases and you use resources and you have to use real money in order to speed up your growth, and it is very pay-to-win. It has all these negative connotations to it, and it was hard to get over my biases when playing this game. I know first, initially, this game, Nexomon, was an iOS game, and I can't attest to the quality of that phone game because I tend not to play those. I have a Nintendo Switch, why would I play mobile games? But it was just hard to get over that negative feeling looking at these aesthetics. I don't think that these aesthetics are bad. I don't think they look awful. I just feel like I would have welcomed this game a little earlier into my playthrough if it had been something like pixel graphics. But I just want to say that it doesn't have any of these like pay-to-win mechanics, nothing sleazy like that. This is through and through a full console game, not a mobile game. Now, it has a lot of differences compared to Pokemon, as I'm sure most of you guys have played a Pokemon game before. I will be comparing it to Pokemon quite a lot. Let's just start with some of the differences. There are typings for all of the Nexomon, but it's only one typing, not two, and I believe there's only 7 or 8 different types of Pokemon. When I say type, I refer to like the element that is attached to these Nexomon, and they have these super effectives and not very effective moves against other types. I had to refer to a chart a couple of times, but for the most part, it is similar to Pokemon. So if you have played a Pokemon game before, you know fire is good against grass, grass is good against water, water is good against fire. The only outliers that I had to refer to a couple of times were the like ghost and psychic. I'm not even sure if they're actually called ghost and psychic, but like fire is like good against ghost and like water is good against psychic. I don't know. They had to fit in those elemental effects in there somehow. So I did have to refer to that a couple of times, but my Pokemon knowledge definitely helped me with my effective charts here. The super effectives and not very effectives don't have as much of a play here as they do in Pokemon. I think in Pokemon, if it's super effective, it does double damage, and not very effective, it does 0.5. In this one, I believe it's 1.5 extra damage and 0.65 not very effective. Still though, when you are playing against your enemy, if you're playing against a opposing Nexomon tamer, they will know the type advantages just as much as you do, and they switch out their Nexomon a lot more frequently than a Pokemon Nexomon tamer would. I'm calling them tamers. They're called Nexomon tamers in this game, not Pokemon trainers, but I will get a lot of the terminology mixed up here, so forgive me. Instead of Pokeballs, you throw Nexomon traps. I know, and there's not like different greater Nexomon trap and ultra Nexomon trap. It doesn't really work like that. Instead, they are tied to the element of the Nexomon. So if you're trying to catch a fire Nexomon, you use a fire Nexomon trap. These elemental Nexomon traps are a little harder to come by, and so most of the time you will be using your base Nexomon trap, but you are able to feed wild Nexomon food, and if they like it, it increases your odds of capturing the actual Nexomon. It's actually more beneficial than Pokemon in this way, where it will show you the percentage of actually catching the Nexomon, and you can adjust accordingly in order to raise that percentage. Throughout the game, you do acquire these whistles, and it just permanently increases your chance of capturing these certain elemental Nexomon. So if I catch a fire whistle, I will increase my odds of successfully capturing a fire Nexomon using a Nexomon trap. It gives you something to do too while you're waiting to see if you successfully caught the Nexomon or not. You have to enter in this random sequence of buttons while you're just waiting, rather than just sitting and watching the Pokeball wiggle back and forth. I caught a lot of Nexomon. I think at the end of the game, my journal said that I had somewhere near 150, so that's quite a lot, but I believe there's a total of closer to 400 Nexomon in this game, so I only got like a little more than a fourth of the potential. I just caught every Nexomon that I didn't have in the wild whenever I would see it. One thing that I really miss here though is in the newer modern Pokemon games, if you do capture a Pokemon, then you still get XP for it. That is not the case in Nexomon. And in terms of accessibility and, you know, a lot of people may actually like this because they say that Pokemon is too easy now, but there isn't like a XP all on Nexomon. There is, but there isn't, because basically Nexomon have the ability to equip these cores, and you can equip up to 4 cores to a Nexomon. These are just stat enhancing things like increase your attack or defense, but there are really good ones that you can craft because you harvest minerals throughout the world. And basically they act like an XP share, and the best one you can get is a 25% XP. So if you equip your Nexomon with all 4 25%, then they are getting just as much XP as the head person in your party. But you would have to harvest quite a lot of minerals in order to equip every one of your Nexomon with 4 of these level 3 XP cores. Still though, as you get to the end of the game, you don't really need to worry about sharing XP as long as you are making sure that you craft these XP cores whenever possible. And that's just the case with this game in general. I feel like the beginning of this game is actually pretty harsh and tough. Like every time you encounter a trainer or two, you are going to have to go back to the Pokemon Center equivalent. In this case, it's just a guy that quickly heals up your Nexomon. This is another pro that Nexomon has over Pokemon. It just instantly heals your guy after a couple sentences, compared to in a Pokemon Center. It's a whole ordeal. But you're going to be going back to this guy quite a lot, so it better be quick and easy to heal up your team. I just felt like the difficulty curve was pretty high at the beginning because all of your opponents are relatively the same level as you, and because of the open world nature of this game, there is level scaling to some degree. You are able to re-challenge trainers whenever you want. I think there is like a short cooldown period, but you can just challenge them over and over again if you need to grind up XP or something like that, but they will always level up to your party to some degree. I felt like by the end of the game, this might be because I had all those XP cores equipped. I was a good 5 or 6 levels above the end game characters, but you know, it does level up with you to some degree, and just the beginning of the game, it was pretty tough, and I wasn't liking it, but as I played and I learned the systems and I started really leveling up my Nexomon above where the rest of the wild Nexomon and trainers were, I felt like the game got a lot more manageable. Instead of each move having PP like in Pokemon, your Nexomon have this like stamina mana-esque meter. I think I like this system better than the PP that the Pokemon has. Obviously, the stronger moves use more of this stamina compared to the weaker moves, and the moves themselves actually have a speed stat tied to them. So if you want to get a quick little attack, think like quick attack on Pokemon, but every move has a speed stat attached to it, this also affects who gets to attack first. Unlike Pokemon, there is also quests in this game. There's obviously the main quest, and then there's a bunch of side quests. These don't grant XP in any manner, but they do grant some pretty beneficial items for you. I mentioned the whistles a little while ago, but there's a lot of other permanent beneficial effects that can stack over time, like XP boosters, or there's like items that make it so you always run away no matter what, or, you know, just lots of beneficial things, maybe things that increase a certain stat of all your Nexomon, and as long as you get these, you always feel like you are improving because it affects all of your Nexomon and all stacks. It's not like you can just get one and done. You are also awarded, obviously, like money, Nexomon traps, potions, that kind of stuff. So it is in your best interest to be doing these side quests alongside with trading, because when you are wandering through this world, you will see people with a blue star over their head, and this is also how you get some of these permanent boosting items, is by trading them certain items that they require. acquire. This can be like certain food that you can give to the Nexomon to make it easier to catch, or like sometimes you just straight up buy it with money. It is, in my opinion, it was always worth it if you could to trade whenever possible, because these items, they really do just add up over time, and they have some pretty substantial effects over time. By the end of the game, you do feel like it was worth gathering up all these things, because you feel pretty strong at the end of the game. This is one thing that I don't really like about Nexomon, is when you are in the wild and you encounter a Nexomon, it'll say just how rare this Nexomon is, from like common, and then it'll go like rare, mega rare, then ultra rare, and then legendary, and it'll just straight up say on the bottom of the health bar. And I feel like this really diminishes the common typing of the Nexomon, because obviously you want to be using like the ultra rare or the legendary Nexomon, so automatically it just makes like 3/4 of the Nexomon roster pretty lame, because you don't want to be using a common Nexomon. But in my experience, this is just the appearance rate of the Nexomon. I don't feel like this is strictly tied to the quality of the Nexomon. By the end of the game, I still had like 2 common rarity Nexomon that were probably one of the best team members in my team. So I mean, I can't attest to how great their stats are compared to the like ultra rare Nexomon or not, but I just feel like it kind of diminishes most of the Nexomon, because everybody just wants the super rare ones, right? The story I liked a lot better than most Pokemon games, surprisingly. There's no gyms or anything like that. Instead, it's just like a singular story with side quests that you can go on. I don't want to spoil too much here, but basically you are recruited into this team that is determined to protect all of this world. It's just to like bring balance between the humans and the Nexomon, and they are guild tamers. So you are recruited into the guild, and you start out with like this bronze badge, and you are just going around defeating these super powerful rogue Nexomon and bad guys. And the story evolves from there. There's plot twists, and there's a lot of fun character interaction. Your character is a silent protagonist, but you are accompanied by this talking cat named Coco, and Coco is probably the most humorous part about this game. This game really, really loves to break that fourth wall, and they never want you to forget that you are playing a video game. Coco is constantly talking about like, oh, this is the part where in the quest, like the bad guys actually win. Like at the beginning of the game, when you are being recruited to join the guild, they say, oh, go into the forest and tame your first Nexomon. Nothing will happen. And Coco's just like, you've never played an RPG before, have you? And just constantly, this game loves to throw it in your face like you're playing a video game. I think at one point, one of the NPCs that is helping you says, hey, if I get enough screen time here, maybe I'll make it into the sequel. I kind of have mixed feelings about this type of fourth level humor breaking. I think by the end it won me over, though. I just feel like it really takes you out of the game when you're playing, and when it is just constantly reminding you like, hey, don't forget you're playing a video game. Oh, isn't this video game trope so niche? It happens all the time, doesn't it? But I don't know. I think by the end of the game, just how often it throws it in your face made it pretty funny, because it went like from funny to, okay, we get it, to like, okay, you've done it so many times that it's funny again, if that makes any sense. They even do that whole like, okay, let's roll the credits, even though the final game has not fully been wrapped up, and then the credits cuts off, and then the game starts up again, and you have to fight the final boss or whatever. I've been playing a lot of games that like to pull that fake credit roll kind of trick. The first one that I can remember was probably Control, but I know that's not the first game to have initiated that whole fake credits thing. It's a pretty long game as far as like these Pokemon monster trainer games go. By the end of the game, I had clocked in almost 22 hours, but there was still a lot of side quests that I could do. And after I rolled the credits, they were sure to remind me that there was a lot of post-credit things to do, a lot of opportunities to catch like different legendary Nexomon as well. So I could easily see this taking 30 to 40 hours if you are a completionist. I think by the end of the game, I actually really liked this game. It took a while to get in. It took a while to like get over my biases of this like mobile game aesthetic, and just to kind of get my head wrapped around like the Nexomon, and some of the Nexomon look really stupid. I guess the same could be said about Pokemon nowadays. I guess even like first generation had its fair share of dumb looking Pokemon, but I just don't like when monsters wear clothes, and they put a clothes on a couple of these Nexomon, which I just think is so stupid. But I'm getting sidetracked here. once I got over my biases and I got about 10 hours into this game, I started really enjoying it and getting really invested in the story attached to the characters. I actually had a really good time, and I think this is just living proof that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I think I will give this game a 4 out of 5. Surprisingly enough, I never would think I would say that going into this game, but here I am. I had rolled the credits, and they had put a lot of work and a lot of thought into this game. And if you are into these monster trainer games, definitely look into this. Like, don't just write it off based off of your initial impressions. Well, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about Nexomon Extinction. Did you play the mobile game? Is it a little more pay to win than this game? Maybe next year we can look forward to the Nexomon Go beta. That should be pretty fun, right? Catch all those Nexomon in real life. That's it for me, though. I'll talk to you later. Bye!